Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast, starts now. Welcome, everybody, back to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Coach Ralph. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing just great, Salim. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Excited to actually jump in and preview the PSG match, which will be on Wednesday. And diving into this match, is there anything that comes to mind to you off the top of your head?
Well, the Champions League is back. I mean, there's no question about that. It seems like a long time since the previous game. I suppose that the first comment is Liverpool came top of the league phase, and yet here they are in the first round of the knockouts coming up against a potential team that could win. And if you look at Arsenal and Aston Villa, they were given much more fortuitous draws. But having said that, I think that that's probably the jeopardy of the new system. And I have to say overall that I think it's a better system than the one we had before. But yeah. Go on, Salim.
Yeah, Coach. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look at the bracket. Here we go. So we are right here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, definitely a tough test. The Real Madrid Atleti, probably that's the most unfortunate probably matchup for either team there. But generally a very tough road to the final. And then when you look over here, the teams don't look as, I don't know, maybe as sexy, I guess, as the teams that are up here in Liverpool's bracket. But
Liverpool's definitely in the harder part of the draw. There's no question about that. And so in a funny way, it kind of works out well that they aren't in the FA Cup anymore, I think. Because if they'd have played on Saturday and they'd have advanced, then that just adds another layer to the whole situation. And obviously Liverpool has to negotiate this tie and get past PSG. But if they should, then I think the fact, they're in a great position in the Premier League. They just have one outstanding commitment, which is the Carabao Cup final, which is a one-off. Liverpool is well placed to maybe to handle the teams ahead should they get past PSG.
Coach, this top part of the bracket, Arsenal, PSV, Real Madrid, Atleti, that's not easy either. So it looks like
I think Real Madrid. I think the one team that they wouldn't want to play is their neighbours.
Yeah.
Because, well, it's a derby game, and then they've just played and it was a 1-1 draw, and that was at the Bernabeu. So it's going to be a very, very tough game. Atleti, they're physical. They do have a lot of talented players, and it'll be an interesting game for them because, as we've said previously, the one thing with Real Madrid is you can count on them coming good in the Champions League, even if the form in the other games they play is a bit iffy.
Yeah. Coach, any other matchup look interesting to you? I think that one's the top one.
Yeah, I mean, should the Reds advance, I would expect Aston Villa to take care of Club Bruges. Obviously, Bruges upset Juventus. They just about scraped into the playoffs because they were the very last team that could qualify. So they've obviously done well from that respect. But I just think Aston Villa, it's a stronger team. And Villa seem to be able to raise their game when they play in the Champions League. And I think the Bayern Munich game showed that to great effect.
Yeah. Okay. So, Coach, as we as we continue to, look for this, look at this match against PSG, a couple interesting things I found out about them. They haven't lost a game domestically,
Well,
which was very interesting.
yeah, I wouldn't say that that's a great shock, to be truthful, because they've tended to dominate the French league for a number of years. There have been some times when they haven't won, but I think more often than not they've tended to come out on top.
19 wins, 5 draws through 24 weeks. I mean, in any league, that's pretty impressive regardless, though.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, like you can't totally write it off, but I think the big thing with PSG is if you look at their history, it's a young club. I mean, like they were only formed in 1970 because 2 teams combined, and then they didn't really do too much really until they were bought by the Qatari group, and since then, like Manchester City, a lot of money was plowed into the club. They had all the superstars, Neymar, Mbappe. And of course, they had Messi for a bit as well. So they were prepared to splurge, as it were, on whatever players they could get. But the idea was that they were going to win the Champions League, and of course, they've never really done that well. They did reach the final one year, but really, other than that, they've been pretty mediocre. So they've taken a new path this year, and I think that what they're trying to do over a period of time is take advantage of the local talent that they've got, because Paris does produce a lot of top players.
Yeah.
So I think they want to take advantage of that. But having said that, they still have a good foreign contingent in their group. So you've got players like Dembele, for example, who I know was a player that Jurgen Klopp really liked a lot and possibly might have liked at Anfield. So, I mean, there is one outstanding player. And of course, they've just bought the Georgian player whose name, I don't know if I can quite say it. Is it Kavara? Yeah, it's a long name. It's a long name. But what I do know is that he's a very, very good player, very fast, very direct, and he potentially can cause Liverpool quite a lot of trouble. And I'm sure that he will be stationed over on Trent's side of the field.
So looking at their team and some of their stats, okay, here we go. So Dembele's top goal scorer, that's pretty good return rate there on 22 games played, 18 goals. And as you look kind of further down here, there's not too many names. Oh, here it is, Coach. And
Marquinhos, like Marquinhos is a good player. Fabian Ruiz, the Spanish player, is a good player.
Yep.
And then they've got Lucas Hernandez, the French defender. So like they've got plenty of quality. And they've got quite a few good young players. I believe it's Barcola is one to keep an eye on for the future.
Yeah.
So I think they're pretty well stacked. And I know they started the Champions League slowly, but they gradually gained momentum. And the Manchester City game kind of showed that they are vulnerable at the back as they fell 2 goals behind. But then they were explosive at the other end and came back to score 4 goals. So they're dangerous, and I think Liverpool's defense will have a busy night.
Is there anything tactically that Coach Slot can do against this team? Is there anything obvious?
Well, I'm sure that he will try to have the team hold the ball, keep it away from the French team as much as possible. But I think the interesting part of the game will be that opening 15 minutes or so, because looking at it from a PSG perspective, they know that if they don't get a good result on the night, then they've got to go back to Anfield. And Anfield, as everybody and their dog will tell you, they are deadly when it comes to the European nights, because the Anfield crowd really gets behind them, and PSG, I feel, have to come out and try and take the game to Liverpool.
So when you look at our lineup, is there anything? Is it the top 11 here that are starting the game? Allison for sure, Van Dijk for sure, Konate, definitely Trent, definitely Robertson in this one for experience.
Yeah, I think that'll be the back four. Will he do something like he did against Manchester City? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible with the two number 10s, and then of course you've got the two inverted wingers. So it's possible. I'm not familiar with how PSG plays defensively. I don't know if they play with a high line or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
What I do know is I think Luis Enrique is a very good coach. The year that Italy won the Euros, Enrique at that time was the Spanish manager, and I thought they really outplayed the Italians in the semi-final. But the problem with that particular Spanish side was they didn't really have a go-to goal scorer at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they ended up, like they didn't get the result. But I thought the way he had set up his team was impressive. And when you consider at international level, one of the challenges for a manager is to try to get the team playing like a club team. And that's pretty nigh impossible at times. I thought that Luis Enrique did a fabulous job in that department because Spain against Italy that night, they really looked like a club team.
Yeah. If we go with the two number 10s, well, let's take a look at the midfield. I mean, it's definitely going to be McAllister, definitely Gravenberch, definitely Szoboszlai in his form, and then on the wings, definitely Salah. And do you think he's going to go with Gakpo, or do you think he's going to go with Luis Diaz?
Well, that's interesting. I'm not quite sure. I was reading something about how he's managed the injuries this year. Mm-hmm. So for example, Diogo Jota, he apparently could have come back and played earlier than he did after his injury. And he intentionally kept him back a little bit, and then he's really managed his minutes. Mm-hmm. So he might be doing that with Cody Gakpo. We'll have to wait and see on that department, because they didn't play a game at the weekend. So from an injury perspective, that is good.
Yeah.
And yeah, having said that, the other side of the coin now is they have the two games against Paris, and then in between they've got a Premier League game against Southampton. Mm-hmm. So how he manages the team here, I think, will be quite intriguing. Against Southampton, I mean, everyone will say, hey, Liverpool top of the league, Southampton well adrift at the bottom of the league. How will he deal with the game? And I think part of that will be determined by how they do on Wednesday against PSG. Mm-hmm. And will he play a weaker team against Southampton? Will he put out a team, say, that he would in the League Cup early rounds, for example? I don't think he put out a team as weak as he did against Plymouth, but I could see him putting out more of a team that you got in those early rounds of the League Cup. So the players like Harvey Elliott, for example, might get a game. Darwin Núñez might get a start as well. I could see something like that.
Yeah.
Well, Endo, I think everybody would like to see Endo played more, but I don't know that he would start him in a game where maybe the thought is that Liverpool plays more on the front foot. Not quite sure on that, but we'd have to wait and see. So it's going to be an interesting week for Liverpool fans to see how the manager puts his team together. And I think Wednesday is fairly predictable. He will either go with his traditional team, and I think you've identified the back four and the midfield three. If he's going to go with what he considers his front three, then it's going to be Gakpo, Diaz, and Salah. Or will he do something like he did against Manchester City, leave Gakpo on the bench and then bring Jones into midfield? So we'll have to wait and see on that score, won't we?
Yeah, very interesting. Coach, as we, kind of talk about PSG and Liverpool and this match, and, we've in a roundabout way have a general feel of PSG. This game being in Paris, wouldn't it make sense to kind of use the Manchester City approach and just let them have the ball and just hit them on the counter?
Oh gosh, you'll have to ask the manager about that. I don't know that there's a definitive answer to that. I mean, I've not seen PSG play apart from highlights, so I'm not familiar with the style. Plus they play a lot of games in the French league, which they can win at a canter. So I think if I was setting up the team, if I was ever in that kind of lofty position, I would be thinking, okay, it's not just a talented team, but it's a very vociferous crowd. So they've got to play in a way that silences the home fans. So I guess you could park the bus and make it difficult for them. The other way is also to possess. So I think that those are his main two routes. I don't know that he will look to take the game to PSG like maybe Jurgen Klopp might. But I think that that'll be his approach. He will come up with a system that will try to slow PSG down and silence the fans.
Yeah. Is there a scoreline you have in mind here of what could transpire?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's overall it's a tie that could go either way, which is why I made the comment about Villa playing Bruges and Arsenal playing Eindhoven. I think if Liverpool were playing either of those teams, I'd be saying I would expect Liverpool to win. Against PSG, as I said, I think the Parisians will kind of come at Liverpool. Liverpool have to contain them, see if they can get anything on the break.
Yeah.
So even a narrow defeat might be a good result. But my gut instinct, if I'm going to forecast, is I think I'll go for a draw.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I wonder if PSG, us mentioning, the French league isn't as competitive as some other leagues. There's a clear team at the top. But they've had some mixed results in the Champions League, and I'm just wondering if that's going to play a part in this one, or has Luis Enrique really dialed it in and has a team humming from a standpoint that they can, go and play anybody and, get a good performance and a result. I mean, of course, any team can beat any team, when it comes to the European, top five leagues, but it's, I think that's a safe bet to call a draw. It'll be interesting to see though the approach, like we've talked about with Slot, and what his plan is to slow them down. It'll be fun to watch. I mean, this is when the games really get fun in the Champions League.
Oh, it's going to be an intriguing game. I think there's no question about that. So I would say hold on to your hat. I think it's going to be quite a game.
As we kind of look forward to Southampton, Coach, you mentioned it could be a team that was very similar to the earlier rounds in the FA Cup and the League Cup. When you forecast that, starting lineup wise, you mentioned Harvey Elliott getting a game, and I mentioned Endo, and you weren't sure about that. But when we look at that lineup, is this a Kwanzaa, partnered with Virgil because there's no, Joe Gomez is hurt? Is it Virgil and Konate playing and then giving Trent a rest? And I'm not sure if um, the other right back. I can't. He's just getting my name's
Bradley.
Bradley. Yeah, name's escaping me.
Yeah. I don't think Bradley's going to be fit. I mean,
so that's Kwanzaa's got to be out there then, right? Then we just play with Konate and Virgil in the middle.
Maybe. As I said before, I think a lot depends on how this first leg goes. That will be reflected in Saturday's lineup. Will he keep out players like Van Dijk and Salah? Probably not, because they're very influential, and so I don't think he's going to make a change there. But I think he might be tempted to rotate some of the other players. And I mean, like you brought up Endo, I think it would be a logical game maybe to give Gravenberg maybe a rest. I think Tsimikas would come in for Robertson. Yeah. And Bradley, if he was fit, I think would come in for Trent. But I don't think that option's open. I have a feeling, I don't think he'd play Kwanzaa for a whole game at right back. I don't think he would do that. So he'd probably play Trent. But a lot depends on Wednesday first.
So if Liverpool, say, goes gangbusters and wins, 2 or 3-0, how does that impact the Southampton game versus if there was a draw or a close loss?
I think it'll have less. Well, it depends how you look at it. I think he would rotate more if Liverpool go and win. Say if they went and won Slot's favorite score, which is 2-0.
Right.
Yeah, I think Liverpool would rotate more. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm thinking this through. I'm not sure that he would rotate more. Because he wants his big guns. Then, if it's a tight game or the game's up in the air, he might be more inclined to take less of a risk with some of his players. So possibly I have that the wrong way around.
Yeah. But also, Coach, on that following Sunday is the Caribou Cup, right? Final?
No. Oh, is it?
So, yeah, they play Southampton, and then Sunday, I believe next Sunday is the, what is that, the 16th?
Yeah. You're right. So yeah, I had neglected that. I'm thinking that the international break is happening. So the international break's after the final, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Does that impact it at all, you think?
Well, I think he'll play his strongest lineup, whatever.
Regardless.
Yeah. He's not going to rotate for the second leg at Anfield. And so even though Newcastle, they obviously have a disadvantage because Anthony Gordon has been suspended. I think on the other side of the coin, they have an advantage because they will have a week to prepare for the final. Liverpool has a big game. So yeah. But, I think that's football. And if you're a team at the top of the table, you've got to learn to cope with that. And Liverpool have been in these situations before.
It's nice that, although, it would have been nice if Liverpool played on Tuesday in the first game against PSG. However, it's really nice that because they're playing on Wednesday and then they play on Tuesday the following week, they have, the games on Sunday against Newcastle for the Caribou Cup. It's a nice
decent
break for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think from a Liverpool perspective, they will play their strongest team in the second leg, and with the final in mind, hopefully they won't pick up injuries.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then that's it for March. I mean, literally by next Sunday, around I don't know, 3 p.m. Eastern time, we'll know the result. And then that's it, the international break. And then April brings the next 5 games, and we'll go. Man, it's going to be, end of March is going to be boring.
Yeah. The dreaded international break will be back.
Yeah. Well, Coach, as always, thanks for your insight. Liverpool fans, we got a really exciting week. 10 days, I guess, really, when you look at it with the final. And let us know what you guys think the scores will be. We'd love to hear your comments of the first leg against PSG in Paris. Also, would love for you guys to subscribe and join our community. We are continuing to do this. Coach and I, like I said before, it's a labor of love. We enjoy just talking about Liverpool, and would love for you guys to join us in our conversation. So, saying that, thank you again for watching, or if you're listening via podcast. And take care, everybody, and go Reds. Big game on Wednesday. And we will be back probably Wednesday afternoon or Thursday at some point to discuss the game in depth. Take care, everybody.
Bye now.